Hi, I'm Laura. Let's get started. I have a million things to tell you. We're going to talk a little bit about our apparatus as humans, how our machinery works, and how to get our actual needs met in this world, right? We have three primary needs as humans, okay? Safety, this part of the brain back here really needs safety. The mid part of our brain needs connection. It is a fundamental human need, love. To feel connected, to feel part of, to feel a sense of belonging. And then up here, this part of the brain needs exploration. Okay, this is all the equipment that we need to go exploring the world. This is the part of the brain that dies of boredom. We have a fundamental need to learn and grow. A safe and connected human is an engaged human. They want to go outward to discover the world and inward to discover themselves. Okay, and so that's the best of us. But first we have to get these needs met. To fully access the best of us, this part of ourselves, we need to get our safety and connection needs met. But here's the rub, okay? We have a safety-seeking system. We are wired with some primary, basic, primitive instincts that kick in when our unconscious mind or even our conscious mind perceives us to be under stress or threat. You've probably heard the phrase fight or flight, okay? That, I don't know, the whole idea of fight or flight is that way back when, on our ancestral environment, we were constantly being chased by lions and bears, oh my, and so we had two basic options: to run away or to fight, punch them. There are actually more than just fight or flight, so we call them the 6 safety-seeking instincts. They are instinctive. You do not necessarily get to choose unless you train yourself, which is a story for another day, another video. But here's what they are, okay? Fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, fool, feed, and fuck. I'm going to tell you a story to show you how fight, flight, freeze, fool, feed, and fuck look in an everyday situation. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story of Jules and James. They're mid-20s, maybe. They've been together a while. They both really want a family. So they're kind of in it's time to shit or get off the pot mode. They really need to either commit or move on. They're kind of shackled there by their fears of abandonment, right? They can't let go. They also can't let go because they love each other, but they got no skills, okay? So they both got one foot in and one foot out, and this just makes for a disaster. Here's one of the first problems with our fight or flight instincts. It makes it sound like our usual instinctive responses to fear and stress and threat are pretty heroic. We do something about it. We fight or we run away. So we're going to start with the first one, fight. And here's the funny thing about fight. Half of our fight instinct is actually submission. I mean, there's an alpha and a beta. There's a winner and a loser. So Jules and James, they're in the kitchen. It's late. They've been working all day. They're tired. They're trying to prepare dinner, and they just start... You know how that goes, right? Picking at each other, and things are escalating, and voices are escalating, and they start to say really mean little digs at each other and stuff. And so it's getting kind of rough. And then James, feeling flooded, he submits. So he says something along the lines of, "Yes, dear, whatever you want, dear." He just submits, okay. He's just overwhelmed. Well, that sets Jules off, as it often will, right? Because in her mind, that's disengagement. That's disconnection. Disconnection is super threatening. And so she says, "Fuck you, James." She runs out the door. She slams the door, jumps in her car, and she starts driving around. And believe me, this is total road rage driving, rolling stops, blowing through red lights, 15 miles over the speed limit. You get the picture. And then she, flicks on her music, and she's listening to Alanis Morissette. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so she's in this total state, what we might call in the mental health world an elevated state. Okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, James takes another approach, and he gets high. All right. Gets his little one-hitter out, and he gets high. Now, high is a tip-off. We're looking at a little flight, right? That's flight. Flight is just basically avoidance. There's a million ways to avoid, okay? So that's flight. He's getting high. That's also feed a little bit. and he lays down on the futon and he decides to Netflix and chill, flips on that remote, and he doesn't move until Jules gets home. What's that? Freeze. Okay. James is frozen. Jules, meanwhile, passes the supermarket. Around here, it's Kroger. It's probably Kroger's all over the place. But anyway, she passes Kroger. What kicks in? Fight, flight, freeze, fool, feed, or fuck. Feed. Okay, so what does she do? Well, I think I already said that Chunky Monkey can completely ruin your relationship, and here's how. Jules drives into Kroger and she goes straight to the ice cream aisle, as many of us do when we are under stress or threat, and she gets her pint of Ben & Jerry's and Chunky Monkey, and of course she pounds it down in about 15 minutes. This is not really like joyful savoring of this amazing substance. No, she just, okay. All right, and so Jules has this problem. She's lactose intolerant. And she's mildly allergic to nuts. And so James really hates it when she has Chunky Monkey because, like, it's just intestinal warfare, right? She's just a total active aggression towards her intestinal tract. For 3 days, she's just going to be a total fart bag. All right, and he can't sleep in the same room. He has to sleep on the futon. James totally hates this. All right, but Jules does it anyway, okay? It's like some kind of revenge eating. That's feed. So she's a little calmer, but she's still way down here in this primitive part of the brain. You might hear people call it lizard brain. That's what I like to call it. She comes home, and she walks in the door, and James is immediately onto her, and he says, Jules, did you have Chunky Monkey again? And Jules says, no. I didn't have any Chunky Monkey. Okay, now Jules hates it when he gets stoned for a whole bunch of reasons, usually because he leaves debris everywhere, Red Bull cans and pizza boxes and Cheeto bags and shit like that, and he never cleans up after himself. She hates it when he gets home, and so she's also onto something. Her spidey sense is tingling, just like his was, and she says, James, did you get stoned? And James says, no, and he tucks the one hitter into the futon. All right, that's fool, okay? Stealing and concealing. Anytime we're concealing things, all the masks we wear, the things we hide, the games we play, they're often quite instinctive, even if they look like elaborate strategies, whether you're a president of the United States or whether, you're a little kid, sticking their hand in the cookie jar. No, chocolate smeared on your face. No, Mom, I didn't have your chocolate chip cookies. Okay, it's instinctive. It's very primitive stuff. So now what's left, right? We've seen fight, flight, freeze, full, feed. And they're hurting, and they love each other, and they want to be together. But, they're not really their full human selves up here, with access to this wonderful decision-making, part of the brain that has access to our values. So, of course, they fuck, and believe me, this is not safe sex. There's no precautions involved here, right? They're both just two objects to each other trying to make each other feel better. So it's all about soothing, right? It's not about forming a partnership or a bond. It's just about make me feel better. They might as well be a whiskey bottle and a needle for all that matters, or a pints of Ben & Jerry, right? Having sex with each other. That they're just objects at this moment. This is not their highest self. So this is not going to be playful. This is not going to be artful, loving, connected sex. This is just neediness. And the lack of precaution, well, this is how we spread our dysfunctions to the next generations, right? Then they're going to bring a little J-named baby into this relationship. That's what it actually looks like, what our safety-seeking instincts actually look like on a daily basis. You can see them everywhere.